Alright, so over here we have the big lens mount. So as you can see, there's a bigger size lens in this one. It's being held in place with the three lens bolts. And over here we have a medium-sized lens holder, which is holding a medium-sized lens. And we're holding it with the help of these three bolts. And using this metal rods, we are able to attach these lens holder to the optics board, and now we could make lab experiments using these two lenses and their lens mount. Alright, so over here we have the lens holder. So I added three holes over here, and over here. They're all threaded so that screws can be entered through those holes and they could hold the lens in place. I also added a hole over here. It is threaded so that this lens holder can be mounted on an optics board. Then there's another hole, but a bit bigger. It's also threaded, and it can also be used to mount the lens mount on the optics board. And then finally there's a third hole over here that's also used for mounting the lens mount on the optics board. It's not threaded, but you can still use it to mount it on an optics board. So there's three holes that are threaded to keep the lens in place, and three other holes that are used to mount the lens holder onto the optics board. Alright, so now we have the lens bolt. So there's going to be three of them that are going to be used to keep the lens in place. So basically its use is that the more you turn the bolt clockwise, the more it's going to enter the lens holder. And if the lens is smaller, you would try and make the bolt go deeper, and if the lens is bigger, then you would bring the bolt more outwards so that you could keep the big lenses in place. So yeah, there's three of them. They're threaded, and at the end over here is a piece that's kind of like in a cone shape, and it's going to be used to insert another piece, which will be the lens rotator. So now we have the piece called the lens rotator. So this part of the piece is going to be slid inside the bolt, the lens bolt, and basically you will, once you slide the piece in, you would want it to not get out, and this piece will be able to spin while attached to the lens bolt. Then we have this part of the piece. This is gonna be it's going to be rotated so that the lens can be properly attached in place. And basically what you want to do is turn the lens bolt and adjusting the lens rotator so that you could keep the lens steady and in place. Okay, so over here we have the lens holder. Here I have the bolts for the lens holder, and here I have the lens rotator. So what you want to do is use the bolts and put it inside the lens holder. And then you could take the lens rotator and you could put it inside the hole of the bolt in the end, at the end side of the bolt, and it'll go right in. And now, depending on the size of the lens, if it's bigger, you could make the gap between the bolts bigger, and if the lens is smaller, then you could make the gap between the bolts smaller. And what the rotator will do is that you could turn them on spot so that you could adjust how the lens is gonna get grabbed. And then if you have even bigger lenses, you can make the circle bigger for the lens holder, and then you could end up using bigger lenses and attaching it to have it mounted on the optics board. And you could do the same thing with smaller lenses as well.